The week of March 26th on the Burma battlefield, I want to capture the area around Imphal because, well, I'll take a look at the railway too. Interesting stuff happened. I'm on the Japanese side of the turn only. The Brits haven't gone yet. But Imphal itself, we had another bonsai attack. Japanese unit was lost, but they gained some impressive territory. Hex, you know, I mean. We also have the Indian National Army, which lost 2 units but went forward. And supply-wise, the Japanese situation looks a lot better in the mountains than it did before. They still have the road cut, actually in 2 places now. Over to the railway, they've secured their position there, at least they think, by garrisoning the length of the railway, except for where the where the Chindits are. They've tried to garrison it as well as they can. And that has given them their supply back on the Chinese border. March 29th turn on Burma. The Allies did a hump diversion, which gave, I'm using these guys to mark victory points, their little skull and crossbones. They're normally used as step losses. Nothing has steps in this for the most part, except some huge Chinese divisions that I think are just optional. The hump diversion was used to try to supply, well, to bring in the 5th Indian Division from Arrakis. Isn't that where Palmov Bib is from? As well, they could have done that without the hump diversion, but they also wanted to try to keep the Chindits alive. They at least got them some supplies, not enough. They did kill the Oscar that was sitting over here finally, which is going to simplify things a little bit. Bombardments along the Imphal Road failed. Artillery fire failed. The Allies are out of supply down at Imphal. The Japanese managed to hold 1 hex of the road, so it's still cut off. And their supplies over here are gone. They still have a little bit over in Silkar. The Japanese are able to threaten the railway to Lado, which will threaten supplies all the way over here. Right now, my guess is within the next couple turns. Oh, and we have another situation where the Japanese managed to cut briefly the supply between Imphal and this hex up here that they have a defensive hedgehog on. British threw some Indians in to try to hold that line and prevent them. They didn't attack because they have no supplies. Down here it's looking questionable. Basically, the Allied position is so tenuous at this point, I would give them less than even odds of surviving the next couple turns. Alright, beginning of April, and the Allies are beginning to see some reason to hope, maybe not that they can win the game, but that they can at least hold the Imphal region. Once again, they did a hump transfer. Well, they're out of supplies now, both in Silkar and in Lado, so things aren't in great shape still. But they did manage to blast their way back into Kohima, using that big stack of that's the 5th Indians, the Arakar air transfer that they conducted. They got enough supply that they could feed everybody through the hump transfer. They didn't move anything over to help the Chindits this time, but the Chindits didn't need it. Well, maybe. They grabbed a city and got the donkey supplied or not supplied guys back under their umbrella. So now, if they can get supply, they're in better shape, but they've got an unsupplied unit, which is kind of a scary issue. That's going to be a problem. Nothing's happening over on the Chinese front. I've got bigger problems and can't really afford to expend the supply there at this point. But the railway's cut, and that's going to be worth something. And although the road to Imphal is not open yet, I'm seeing the way that it can be opened. That big mass of troops. This guy doesn't seem to be doing any harm. I've got some units kind of watching him. He could be a big problem if he is not taken care of. But yeah, it's looking like survival's a definite possibility at this point. I see what I did wrong with the Brits. I wouldn't have thunk it, but you basically, and you see it with the Japanese too, in order to garrison a road, you got to put a unit on every space of that road. I'm sure that's not the case in the Russian front, but here, especially in the mountains, attacking is just so painful that let them attack to take the road, and then at least it'll cost them as much with the bonsai attacks for the Japanese to get the hex as it will for you to get it back. As it is, this is really horrible for the Allies. I'm pretty sure they cannot win the game, but I'm still enjoying myself, so I'm going to continue. I'm actually very pleasantly surprised. Once you get into the cadence of this game, it's pretty good.